and welcome back to the WYG Podcast. Today, it's me, Max Freeman, and I'm joined with Chelsea fan JP and Tottenham fan Tom. How are you both doing this evening?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing good.
Doing good. Considering it's been a poor weekend for the channel, really. I think me and Tom were saying before we started, I think every single team involved in the podcast lost. Not only us, but every other team lost or drew this weekend, obviously with Man United picking up a draw against Bournemouth. We're going to start at Wembley, where Manchester City, thanks to 2 goals from Nico O'Reilly and a spectacular assist from Kepa Arrizabalaga, gives Manchester City and Pep Guardiola a yet another Carabao Cup title, and the first one to slip away from Arsenal this season. JP, I'm going to come to you first. We're going to talk about Kepa. This isn't the first time Kepa's not had a good performance in a Carabao Cup final. Were you surprised by Arteta's decision? And it's definitely backfired on them now, hasn't it?
Well, I would say I'm not surprised by Arteta's decision, because we have seen this common trend in the Carabao Cup of teams picking like their designated cup keeper. You saw it even when Liverpool won it a few years ago with Kelleher. But I think with Arsenal's sake, because they haven't won a trophy in such a long time, I would have just, seen that as it was and started David Raya. So that was a mistake from Arteta, I think. Even though Kepa did play very well leading up to the final, I just think, common sense is there playing against a team like Man City as well. But no, I think, and you saw, Kepa and the Carabao Cup don't go too well. Obviously, I know very well about his time at Chelsea in 2 Carabao Cup finals. The first one where he refused to be substituted. Obviously, he got injured against Man City back in 2018, I think. And then the second one against Liverpool, when he missed the penalty in a penalty shootout, and then Liverpool won that final. So it's not really the best competition for him, but it's one that Arteta will definitely have to look at, because they are still in the FA Cup. So if they was to reach the FA Cup final, for example, will he make the same decision? Remains to be seen.
Unfortunately, we don't have our resident Arsenal fan Ty on today's show. It'd been nice to hear his views. I'm sure it would have been a very ranty session.
I haven't actually heard of many of his views since he didn't answer the group chat for a good 24 hours before, and he didn't even bring it up. Just didn't subject.
Tom, obviously you're very happy about this whole situation, really, after what was a poor result at 2:00. But in terms of the cup final, is this something that Arsenal should be concerned about, not being able to finish over the line in these finals and in these big games? Is it something that Arsenal should really consider and be sort of wary about going into the business end of the season?
No, definitely. Like, it's such a big thing. Look, I know we're a completely different club, but even when Spurs were at their sort of best, we would get into finals, and you could see the difference between, like, sometimes, yes, we might not be the best team going into the game, where Arsenal was probably more the favourites going into this. But, the Champions League final against Liverpool, the finals that we had against Manchester City, these sort of competitions that we could have won, these semi-finals against Man United at Wembley, etc. Like, they're these competitions that, we just, for some reason, it doesn't matter how good you were, you just couldn't get them over the line. And the problem with Arsenal, and I have said this for so long, and I said this to Ty in the group chat, yes, your tactic might work over the Premier League, because when you draw a game in the Premier League, it doesn't go past extra minutes, and you get a point allowed at least. Obviously, you want 3 points, but you get a point, and you're playing different teams. But when you're in a final at Wembley, they actually had a decent first half, Arsenal. I've got to give it to them. I mean, City started to find their way. They were a bit ropey to start, but they started to, that triple save from Trafford was unbelievable. But they seemed to find their way back into it, City. And then for some reason, they just do it, Arsenal. They come into the second half. I don't know if it's Arteta that does it. I don't know if it's a mindset that, the players just have, because, they're not being in these finals, not being in these situations. But you can't go and play park the bus in a final of of any trophy. Look, and I said this, the reason they're not going to win a quadruple. I mean, people say it's because they haven't won trophies, and this is, they've shown that they're not, where their mentality is with winning trophies. The difference where I told you City know how to win a trophy. Guardiola knows how to win a trophy. Doesn't matter how bad or poor they can be, they know how to get it over the line, you know. And you can't do this in the Champions League either. I said they say, oh, we beat Bayern, in this one leg, we smashed them. Play them over 2 legs. Play them in a semi-final. Play them in a final. These bigger teams like Bayern, you can't go play part of the bus against them. They will batter you. Barcelona have Yamal, Rashford, Rafinha, Lewandowski. You're not playing Wolves every weekend. You've got to play these teams over 2 legs. You've got Elise, Kane, Luis Diaz. You can't play part of the bus against teams. I don't care if you're the best team in the world, right? It is so hard. And I think even what season was it when you did really well in defence, Chelsea?
What,
You conceded no goal. Did you
04-05, 15 goals.
Did you win the Champions League that season or no?
No. We know won the Champions League that season.
Who won it?
We did. The Miracle of Istanbul.
Oh yeah, of course.
Because Luis Garcia scored a legitimate goal.
But would you say you won the Premier League?
That went over the line.
You won the Premier League fair and square, yeah, fair enough. But I don't know if you watched it, JP, but I'm sure you did, maybe. But could you see that, that tactic of playing part of the bus in these like competitions against these big teams over 2 legs? You can't do it. It's not.
Yeah, of course.
And I've seen you win when you've won the Champions League, and I've seen you guys win the Champions League. You're not playing that part of the bus football. You are forward. You're progressive. And this is why City. It took City a while to win a treble. It didn't matter how good they were because it's hard. It's hard to keep up this form and win these trophies. This was a big loss for us. I think they had a massive chance too. City were missing players. They've been lacking on defense quite a lot. And, they had this opportunity. They had Ake in defence, who hasn't played any games. Kusanov, who has looked good, but still super young. Mateus Nunes, to be fair, has looked good. And Nico Rai, he's got to be starting England left back. I think he's put that position down now. If you actually remember when we did the team the season halfway through, I actually put him as my left back. And you guys still chose Cucurella. Are you still with that? You still with that?
Not.
Yeah,
Definitely not.
There you go.
Definitely not. But it's interesting, Tom, you talk about this. You're right, because I personally can't think of a defensive-minded team that has won the Champions League in recent memory.
Real Madrid have won it so many seasons in a row.
One team that pops into mind, and they got absolutely pummeled in the final, was I think it was 16-17 Juventus. Obviously, they had a good attacking side, but they were still, I would say, a defensively minded team with the defense they had and the players they had. But it's really interesting, Tom, that you made that point that no sort of defensive-minded teams in European football will win it.
A big one. I just want to point out, Inter Milan. 2 seasons they were in the Champions League final, had the best team probably the defence in Europe. They were known for not conceding goals. And, they go play Manchester City. Yes, it was a tight game, but they still lost 1-0. Because it's hard to score goals against these big teams as well in these moments. And then, of course, they got absolutely pummeled against, was it PSG? In that final. And, once again, PSG playing more progressive started, obviously the new manager took over and they changed their style, but being more progressive, being more attacking, and that's the teams that are going to win these trophies. You can win the league doing it. Don't get me wrong. They still have a massive chance of winning the league because you play a different team each week. It's one game. You can actually play at home, you get those sort of things. But in a double leg competition, it's completely different game. And yes, they should be beating Sporting, but they should have beaten Sporting last time they played them. I'm not saying they're going to lose. Don't get me wrong. They probably will beat Sporting, but it happened. These bigger clubs, playing away against them, can Arsenal just hold that part of the bus? Because that's what they're going to do. They did it against Bayern Leverkusen and just got away with it and then took it to home, But we have to see. They're still in the competition. I think you still have to think, and don't get me wrong, I loved it, but they're still a good team. They are still a good team, Arsenal. They can still win the league.
Definitely.
I don't think they're going to win the Champions League just by the essence of watching that final. And I think hopefully Arsenal fans have actually contemplated that, yes, we're not going to win the Champions League. We just stick to the Prem. Just stick to the Prem. They might win the FA Cup. And it might be, to be fair, but I actually have a feeling, slight in the feeling, they're going to win a trophy this season. It's going to be the FA Cup. That's all I think they're going to win. I think the Carabao Cup has given City hope. A lot of praise. I do think they beat Chelsea this weekend. Sorry to say, JP, but you lot look poor, and City, I think, going to be flying right now.
It's international break anyway. We got a bit.
Sorry, not this week, but when the next game, I think it's going to. But Yeah, but yeah, that's honestly, Max, that's what I think personally. I just think Arsenal have got an FA Cup on their hands. It might be a brave shout from me, but I do think they could bottle the league, and I'm not going to win Champions League, but they're an FA Cup team. They know how to win it. So I'm going to say they're going
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Tom, there, mate. I totally agree with you. JP, I'm going to swing it over to you before we move on to the eventual winners, Manchester City. There was a lot of talk from Arsenal fans saying Arteta got it all wrong. But for me personally, watching the game, I think some responsibility has to come down to some of the performance we saw. Is this something you agree with, or is this a situation where everything is at fault with the manager and the tactics he came out with?
I mean, look, you could blame some of what happened in the final on the manager, but also the players have to take accountability. Arsenal fans will probably agree with me by saying that was probably their worst performance of the season. Because other than obviously the triple save from James Trafford and the Gabriel Jesus hitting the crossbar late on with the header, there wasn't much at all. And Man City just took advantage of that. Like Tom said, Arsenal decided to park the bus and defend, and Man City just went for them, And I think, because we spoke about, Arteta deciding to stick with Kepa. That was probably one mistake. You would argue if Raya was in goal, he would have probably caught that ball that Kepa let through his hands. And then, I think I can't really pick like a stand-up. Obviously, a Man City player was man of the match because they won, Nico O'Reilly. But you can't really pick an Arsenal player that really played well, like in that whole final. So, the players have got to take accountability. And to be honest, this final has happened at a really good time for Arsenal because we are going into the international break. If it was, the Premier League this weekend, for example, the mentality could have been all over the place. So, I would say it's more 50-50. Yes, the manager, obviously he makes the tactics and he got it wrong, but then, the players still have to do their job on the pitch.
When there's a loser in a big final, there's got to be a winner. Manchester City win their fifth EFL Cup under Pep Guardiola, and he's interestingly taken over Brian Clough, Sir Alex Ferguson, and Jose Mourinho, who are on 4 titles to win his 5th. Tom, what did City do right in this game? What was one thing that stood out to you that City did completely right compared to what Arsenal were doing?
Well, firstly, played football. That is just generally what they've done. But it's not like I know I'm a Spurs fan, and people are probably going to say, "Oh, you're just Spurs over this," but everyone watched the same game. Arsenal fans watched the same game. I saw Arsenal reactions. I saw that like Troops guy all said the same thing about playing this anti-football, especially in the final. City were just attacking. They were progressive. They were enjoying themselves out there. I mean, look at Cherky. I mean, he was probably a bit too arrogant with the kicky uppies. It made me laugh personally. But if that was my team and we were 1-0 up and he started doing that, I'd be a bit like, shaky. You're still Arsenal. You're against 1-0 up. But I mean, it was just. I'm not gonna lie. I think City were unbelievable, right? But I just think Arsenal made it so easy for City. Everyone knows, no matter where up, Pep is tiki-taka. He knows how to break down a team. Arsenal have got to be pressing them. They've got to be on top of them. But you can't just allow City to keep going forwards and forwards and forwards. But I want to say one thing, and this is the big thing. This is where it has shown. I know it's only one game, but it is a final, and you have to. This is where I've been saying all season, right? Where the world-class players stand out against the unbelievable players, still unbelievable, but aren't in the world-class bracket just yet. And, I'm not going to look, Kepa was in goal. Raya is a world-class goalie, right? But this is where I think Arsenal have been having good games, right? The good players, right? But you can't class everyone as world-class. Gyökeres got bullied by Kusanov, right? Didn't get in there. Apparently world-class according to Ty, right? Are we all going to say he's world-class, or are we just going to say he's a great striker?
Yeah, Gyökeres.
Yeah, Gyökeres. Is he world-class or great striker? Let's be honest.
He's a great striker. I don't see him as world-class. He was world-class at Sporting Lisbon.
We'll keep going. Look, we'll just break down the team. I'm just going to break down the players that people say are world-class, and I'm just going to prove and show that they're literally on... Just because I'm saying they're not world-class doesn't mean they're bad, right? They could be on the border of it. But it just proved to me why they're not world-class. Bukayo Saka. I think he's shown that... I love Saka. Look, I'm a Spurs fan. I love Saka, but he's not world-class. He's not a world-class winger. Not yet.
No.
He's
Oh,
good. He's unbelievable. He's obviously one of the best wingers in the league. Not world class. Someone that's also overrated. I think he's starting to get seen a little bit more by Arsenal fans, but still highly overrated to what he is. Especially when Bowen's putting up bigger numbers, right?
yeah.
Big
Totally agree.
one. This might be my biggest shout. And don't get me wrong, he's had an unbelievable season, but this is where it showed the difference between an unbelievable midfielder and a world-class midfielder. And you saw it in that one game, and that is Declan Rice versus Rodri.
Yeah.
That was proof, no matter how injury prone, that badly Rodri's been this season, how injury prone, that game showed me why Rodri is a Ballon d'Or winner and a world-class winger, and Rice is an unbelievable midfielder, probably one of the best in the league, but isn't a world-class midfielder just yet. That was proof for that game. And look, I love Rice as well. Look, I'm not trying to say this, I'm not trying to say they're bad players, but it just shows the difference between someone who can control a game. Rodri bossed that whole midfield. He was by himself in there, and he took Rice out of the game. He took all of them out of the game. That just shows, that's why he won a Ballon d'Or, right? That's world-class there.
Yeah.
The only ones I would suggest are world-class. I've got to give Saliba credit. He shot, and Gabriel, they shot more Haaland. Haaland, I know he's a bad, case in finals, but they locked him down. Saliba was great. Raya is a world-class goalie. I'm just going to call that out there. He is a world-class goalie. But the rest of the team, I couldn't class as world-class just yet.
I thought Saliba was unreal. I thought
Saliba, Gabriel,
Saliba really impressed me.
Apart from that back three, none of them are world-class, right? And this is where it showed City just have, even though they've been poor, they just have more world-class players. That is what it is. They have these, they just have these, Bernardo Silva still world-class. He showed it in that match. He showed leadership in that match, he showed he was still world-class. Rodri's still world-class. Holland, even though didn't have the great game, he's still world-class striker. We can't contemplate that. I know they are missing some world-class players now, City, but Semenyo, I mean, I'm not going to say just yet, 'cause, he hasn't done it for long enough, but he could easily be world-class. You can see the difference in him and Saka. I mean, you could just, if you compare the team, Semenyo against Saka, who's their left wing? Trossard.
Yeah, left.
Trossard against Turkey.
Trossard.
Trossard against Turkey. Rice against, Zubimendi against Rodri, sorry. Bernardo Silva against Rice. I don't even know who the other midfielder was for City. I can't even remember. Nico O'Reilly at left back against Hikapi and Calafiori. I mean, it just shows to me that I feel bad saying this because they've actually been a great team, but it just shows they're still lacking that final world-class quality, that final depth. And this is why I just think Arsenal fans need to calm it down a bit, Even when Spurs were great, we rarely ever call players world-class unless we said Alderweireld, Vertonghen were great centre-backs. Never called them world-class. The only ones we ever called world-class was Harry Kane because he was a world-class striker. We praised them, never called Dele Alli world-class. We called Son world-class, but that was as far as it went. That we never even called Kyle Walker world-class until we actually started going to City and started doing all of that. We called Lloris world-class, maybe that, but we were a bit more humble with it. I don't know. I think we used to, don't get me wrong, we praise them still highly today, but we never called them world-class. I think that's where I think Arsenal fans have put it in their own head. To be fair, that's why Ty can speak, because they have in their head that they're the best team in the world for some reason, even though they haven't won a trophy and they are a good team. They think they're the best team in the world, and they're not. This is reality. You're not the best team in the world. Bayern Munich are a better team, a better historic club than you. Real Madrid are, you might beat them, but they're still a better team than you historically, and will always be better than you. PSG are probably a better team than you. There are, just because you have one of the best events in the world doesn't mean you're the best team in the world. And that's the truth. Their front three is nowhere near compared to the many other front threes in the whole world. Sorry, I stopped rambling on, but basically where City went well was they just completely outplayed them and Arsenal let them do it.
Nico O'Reilly. He had a tall order, and no matter how mixed bag he's been this season, Bukayo Saka's still a tough player to come up against. And I thought he did it very calm, did it in a very calm and composed way. Obviously scored the 2 winning goals to win City the title. Do you think that this is a sign for him to start at the World Cup? And how impressed were you, obviously, of his performance of the weekend?
I mean, yeah, I was very impressed, because I think if he had to pick Man City player to score 2 goals in the final, he probably would not have been your pick. But he's scored those 2 goals, 2 really well taken headers. I mean, the first one, yes, Kepa let it go, and if Kepa caught it, then Nico wouldn't have got to that. But the second header was the more impressive one for me, just away from the goalkeeper, top corner. But no, I think Nico O'Reilly definitely this whole season has been more of definitely a hidden gem, I would say, because I think at the start of the season, Man City, they signed Ryan Aït-Nouri from Wolves. And I thought at the time that he was going to be their starting left back for the season. But then I think he picks up an injury early on. And then that's when Nico O'Reilly got introduced. And he's just gone on to prove that he's probably going to be Man City's starting left back for a while. And I think what a moment for him as well, coming from the academy as well. Like, City didn't buy him, so he proper scouted all the way through the tiers of youth football to then have that moment at Wembley is going to stick with him for a while. And as for England, I think I can't really think of any other better English left backs. Like, you could maybe argue somebody like Lewis Hall at Newcastle could be a challenge for him potentially. But no, I think, that position is pretty much Nico O'Reilly's. I think last season, you could have argued, Miles Lewis-Skelly could have been a shout for left back in England, but he's barely played this year, so I don't know if he's going to be in Tuchel's plans. But no, I think, he's probably going to be starting at left back for England in the World Cup, and he's going to go on to have a really good career. Whether it be always at Man City or he goes on to a bigger club, I don't know. But no, he's a talent that I think has caught everybody by surprise.
I think a big talking point about this game as well was Pep Guardiola. Very, very passionate on the sidelines, to say the least. Both of you, is this a sign of potentially him, leaving at the end of the season?
I don't know. To be fair, I actually don't think he will leave. I just generally think you got to remember City have had a bad, not bad season. Sorry, well, it's funny to think that we say City's had a bad season and they're still in a title race and they've just won a cup. But, but no, he's just that. He's always been like that. Pep Guardiola. He's emotional, but you got to remember they've been going for a bad stage. City weren't even favourites going into this, and they outplayed Arsenal, and then they've scored 2 goals, and you can tell he loves Nico O'Reilly as well, and he's just, I don't think Pep's going. I still think he's got more in him. I think if you really heard something, you would know definitely by now, but I think he's staying. You got to remember, he's just bought all these new players too. Why would you go ahead and build this whole? I know Klopp kind of half did it, but
I was going to say.
But it's not like Pep to go and, even if you look for his history, Pep just leaves. He doesn't go and buy a whole new squad and try and, build a new squad. I think Pep would be silly to leave as well. I think until City get these charges or whatever, unless he knows that's coming the way and he knows about it, I would just stay. Just keep getting prems. I know everyone say, for once, I think we've all actually say, it's actually good to watch City again, winning stuff, it's actually quite nice because they play that I think Arsenal have killed the vibe of football so much that but it's true though, they've played this handsy football so much, that watching City play and watching them play that football, and people were saying that game was boring. City made that game enjoyable, and it's not just because they won. It's the that second goal especially that they scored, the tiki-taka, the overlaps, and then the dink over, and then the header. It was just football. That is what you call football, and that's
the streets will never forget, and the people are missing Pep versus Klopp.
Yeah, no, it's true.
They're completely 100% missing that. These. Sorry to interrupt you there, Tom, but I couldn't agree.
It's true. I agree.
It's like, these two great managers and these two great teams that played great football. I can't think of a time where Pep's team haven't played good football in this particular season. Obviously, Klopp was this heavy metal brand of football, and when they clashed, it was always memorable. Not like these guys in North, these red guys in Highbury and Islington, to say the least.
Yeah.
But JP, quickly going to you as well now.
Yeah.
Do you think this was a curtain call for Pep, or do you like Tom? Do you think he's going to stay?
Well, I think talks of Pep leaving Man City have been going on for a while now, for at least the past 2 years. And I think, like Tom said, City could still go on to have a very good season this year, despite everyone thinking they've been poor. They've won the Carabao Cup, they can win the FA Cup. And if they, turn the league around, then there you go, they've got a domestic treble. So City can still have a very good season. And Pep, he's built such a very solid foundation at Man City. He's made signings left, right, and centre, and it doesn't seem like he's got any thoughts of leaving the club. And if the charges come, whether it be next season or the year after, then City will be in a lot of trouble. But I don't know. Pep, because if he was to leave Man City, where's he going to go? He's basically conquered everywhere already. He's won.
I think he'd do what Klopp done, just kind of. Maybe he does want to go international, remember? But then
he could go international.
He wanted.
The problem is the Spain job. The Spain job's not going to come open.
No, I know.
I see them winning World Cups.
He said he wanted the England job. He actually said he would love the England job because it's because you got to remember England. I think he likes the challenge. The fact that England not only got
on the World Cup,
but they haven't won. They haven't won something for years. It's more of a to say that he's gone there. I mean, he's already one of the best managers of all time, right? But to then go and win it. But imagine going to England and going to win a trophy at England. You go down in probably the best manager of history of football. You have to.
You have
to go there, and because he just shows he's a winner everywhere.
Look, Carlo Ancelotti, for example, he's on that trajectory at the moment. He's won everything at a club level, and now he's gone to Brazil. And if he wins the World Cup with Brazil, then he'll definitely be, or probably already is, one of the best managers of all time. But definitely. No, like Pep Guardiola, if he was to leave Man City and stick to club football, he's won it all everywhere. He's gone to Germany. He's won the league with Bayern Munich a few times. He's been to Spain.
He managed the best team of all time, in my opinion.
Yeah. And also, Max, you brought up the interesting battles between Klopp and Pep, and that got me reminding actually many, many years ago when United used to play Barcelona in the Champions League finals. So it was him against Alex Ferguson, and you could see back then how good of a manager he is. But no, I think Pep Guardiola, I'll be very surprised if there's an announcement of him leaving this season, but I think it will happen soon. And Man City fans just have to be ready for it because he's not going to stay forever.
I just think he leaves. I genuinely believe he leaves when the England job comes up. I think it's either that or the charges, because I don't think Tuchel will be in charge of England forever. He's not that sort of manager.
And also, I should add, you brought up the Spain job, but I've read somewhere, I don't think Guardiola would want to manage Spain because of his Catalan links.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. So
and he said he has brought up he would love to manage England. I have seen that.
I'm not attuned enough, obviously, to Spanish politics. Maybe we'll have a WYG global politics show. Look, we spent a lot of time on this game and we need to move on. But just quickly, quick answers from both of you. Yes or no? Is this a turning point for the league? Will Manchester City win the league?
Yes, has to be. It'd be stupid not to say.
JP?
I'm still on the fence because, like I said earlier, this final happened, but now that it's an international break and everything, it's like a 2-week break before the Premier League comes back. So I don't know where the mentality is going to be at, but I think, I would say it's a turning point.
Look, if I put actually the maths in your head, because it is true, right? There's already a game in hand. There's a 9 points, right? But think about this in this actual way. City, they're already a decent team. They're going to be with their heads held high. Could still bottle it, but we don't know. That's the fun of it. Arsenal could bottle it. But City beat you. There's 6-point gaps. Yeah. Arsenal still got to play City in the Etihad, right? Mm-hmm. City win that. So I think of it, right? I'm just thinking of it in a way that obviously I don't want Arsenal to win the Prem. City win their game, then they beat Arsenal. There's a 3-point gap. That's all it is. Mm-hmm. And can Arsenal, can Arsenal do that run? Can they do that race, where they can just hold on? Even if they play part of the bus, look, they're gonna play part of the bus, right? And you can't call them out for it anymore. You know it's gonna happen, but it could win them the league, so you can't really fault them. If you told me it's the last 8 game season, my team's gonna play part of the bus to win the league, you're not gonna know. None of you are gonna be upset. You'll do anything to win the league. That's for me. There's 3 points in it. For me, I don't know why. For me personally, I think there's 3 points currently.
Well, you think about the game in hand, and then you think about City
Etihad at
probably
home.
beating Arsenal. Look, I think there's plenty of things weighing in each direction. I think City not having Champions League's a big thing as well.
Massive,
They
yeah.
don't have to concentrate on that. I've been thinking with my heart this whole time, but now I'm thinking with my head. I just think Arsenal are going to do it. I just
No,
think they're going
fair.
to do it.
Look, it's not a crazy
No,
state. It's not
no,
crazy
it's
to
not.
either of them, on it.
I thought about it with my heart, thinking that they're going to do it again, second again, but I think they're going to do it. But
Look,
anyway,
Arsenal should be winning it. If they don't win
yeah,
it, look, I
then
don't want to see them win it, but they should be winning it. There's not,
definitely,
even though I'm going, there's 3 points. There's a 9-point gap, right?
yeah,
You're still 9 points clear with
you're expected to
7
win it.
games. You should be. You got an 80% chance of winning it. If you bottle it, that I'm sorry, that's Arteta gone. I think that
Yeah.
has to be gone.
We're going to travel down the road. We're going to travel
No,
up the
don't.
north of the A4.
No, go further. Go further.
No, we're not. We're going up. We're going across to the east on the A406, and we're heading to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, where Tottenham lose 3-0 at home to Nottingham Forest, which means they're only 1 point off the relegation places. Tom, I feel like you have a lot to say, so I'm just going to let you air it all out. What went wrong for Spurs on Sunday?
We've made it more embarrassing because of the fact we did the parade. But let me, okay, I'm going to just break it down. I'm not going to go into too much detail because I feel like I've said the same thing over and over again at Spurs, and it's true. Nothing will change until, I know you can't just blame the owners, but it stems from them all the way down, right? But where it went wrong, personally, where it all went wrong was, if you actually watch the game, we had a great first half. We did not play bad at all. We were playing good football. I think Igor messed up with some, players in their positions. We did just come off a win against Atletico where we played, Kolo Muani, Simmons and Tell, and we looked really threatening up front. And then he go, with Poro bombing down that right-hand side. We looked good. And then he goes into this game with Richarlison, Solanke up top. It works against Liverpool because they're a bit more open. They're a bit more attacking. Forest play part of the bus. You're not going to break them down with a ball over the top. You need your Simmons on, and you need your Tell on that can beat the man. That was, that didn't help, but we still played good. The problem, what happened was, in the end of the day, we just played football that didn't end up going our way, and then we conceded, and it really just broke us down. We played really well. I think we hit the bar twice. I'm pretty sure we hit the bar like literally a minute after we conceded as well in the first half.
Yeah.
So we'd already hit the bar. We were playing well. We conceded just on the brink of half time. Such a silly corner as well. Such an easy corner to concede, and just when you concede that goal just for half time, I don't know if we've all played Sunday. It's just it's just annoying. Just get into the you might not be 1-0 up, but you've had a good game. Get in the dressing room, talk it out, and then you get straight back out the second half. But I think in their head you got to remember we're in a really bad place right now. Right, they're low on confidence, low on all of this, and they've played good football for once. For a long time, and they're losing 1-0. And the fact that we hit the bar as well straight after is like, what can we do? Like, what generally can we do? We've played great football. Nottingham Forest have done really nothing, and they're well just not letting us win. We're hitting the bars. We're conceding on these late minutes, and I think personally it went in first half, and it just broke our players mentally. That's all I can say. I think it just broke us mentally conceding this goal. After all that hard work. And we just came out in the second half and we just weren't the same team. The pressing stopped, the energy stopped, and it just all kind of went wrong. And then, the second goal we conceded, I think it was a Gibbs White, the second one.
Yeah, Gibbs White, yeah.
Yeah, that was poor defending, I do think, as I said, it's not just being unlucky. When you're not getting, you're playing bad, it just, things happen. Things just, for some reason, don't go your way, right? Like, you've seen it all season. The push is the topic, the Champions League where Simmons was fouled and then Alvarez goes and scores and it's not even VAR or it's not looked at properly. It's a clear foul. Like, everyone's, I've looked it back, but forget that we're out anyway. Probably doesn't matter. But then even I think in the second goal in that game, I saw Romero was tugged and then the ref played advantage, but he's running into the sideline and then he gets tackled and it's kind of like, decisions aren't going your way. You're hitting posts. You're all that. Romero's then out of position, and it's just an easy. We've conceded that all season though. That just pull back pass, and there's no one marking it for some reason. That's also just management. But at the end of the day, the only thing I can break that. I'm not even gonna have a go at the team. So it's frustrating, but it's once again one of those games where you lose your head after the 1-0. You have the big parade. You're all rallied up, play well, and then boom, you sink. The only positives are we've got Kudus coming back after international break, and we could see a Maddison in a Tottenham shirt just before the end of the season, which could be a big thing. Tell's actually looking good now. I can only look. All you can do at this stage is we're not great. We're not great at all, but you just have to keep with us and just, these fans have to, in that Atletico game, this is a bit annoying. I went to the Atletico game. I watched it, actually. The first game I've watched all season, we actually won. Maybe I should go more often, but this is where it annoys me. We're already 3 goals down, right? We're 3 goals down, fair enough. To be honest, if the Kingsley scuff and the slips, the mistakes never happened, we might have actually gone through to the next round, to be fair. But it happened, bar that. In that game where we went 2-2 against Atletico, right? Fans leave the game. Fans starting to leave the stadium. It might have been the 80th minute, but fans leaving the stadium. I'm sitting here thinking, what did you expect? When we're in a bad stage, we've given it a good go. Like, we've actually played well against Atletico. We've conceded 2 goals. Well, roll your team on. We got a win out that game in the end. And the fans that stayed, I don't know if you heard, but it's all over TikTok. We were singing in the 88th minute, even when we were 2-2, singing, letting that team know you played well. And we're still behind you, and we're going to get behind you. Because this is what we need to do. This is what the fans need to do. And these fans that are leaving, it's just like, just get behind the team. It doesn't help. I get, we're all in the same boat. We all hate the owners. We know we're playing bad. We haven't won a game. But you just can't give up. You just got to keep getting behind them, and the boos, like the booing at the last minute, it's like, yes, I guess we lost 3-0. It's bad, but we didn't play poorly. We didn't play that bad. Yeah, the second half we weren't great, but we didn't play that bad. There's games that we've deserved boos. The 4-1 against Arsenal, for example. They're the games we deserve boos. Not against Nottingham Forest when it's 3-0. What do you think that does to our players? You want them to win a game and you're just booing them. Like, just get on with it. Just get on with it into the next game. Obviously I don't know who we got next. Well,
let's have a look, shall we?
We got Sunderland away. Just get them ready for the next game. We might, yes, it's Sunderland away and we haven't won a game, but even a point does. Every point matters right now. And you just got to get behind this team. And, this is probably why we're better away this year. Because the fans that are actually travelling away care about their team. These home fans are disappearing if we go 2-0 down. The fans left in the 70th minute of that Nottingham Forest game when we conceded the second goal. Yeah. 2-0 in the 70th minute and they're leaving.
You've got to stay.
That is embarrassing. That is embarrassing to leave 20
because
minutes.
In a season like you're having, you need those 20 minutes.
And you do exactly
everything behind
20
them.
minutes. It doesn't matter who you support. 20 minutes to go in a game. We've seen Arsenal go 2-0 up and draw 2-2 to Wolves. You don't see Wolves fans leaving. They're getting relegated. They're not leaving their stadiums. It's just embarrassing. I don't know what these Spurs fans want. You pay to see the team. Yes, it doesn't go your way. Just keep going, man. Like, it just annoys me. Yes, I know we're bad. We know we're bad. We're the only team in the league that hasn't won a game. Like, Jesus Christ, just stay with the team, and we're going to get through this somehow. And if we get relegated, then enjoy football without VAR. That's called football.
Nottingham Forest had a job to do. They went and done it, and I think it's credit to them, isn't it, of the way they can go into a relegation rival like that and win 3-0 emphatically and pick up a massive 3 points in this relegation 6-pointer.
No, for sure. Yeah, you've got to give credit to Nottingham Forest. They went to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and did their job. Nottingham Forest have already beaten Tottenham 3-0 this season, but this game was of extra importance. It's like you said, both teams are in a bit of a pickle this season, and Yeah, I just, Tottenham just can't. They're not helping themselves, and Nottingham Forest took full advantage. Like Tom said, the goal just before half time, the header from Igor Jesus. Corner was very avoidable. Same with the Gibbs White goal. You could argue if Vicario had a firm hand on that strike, maybe that would have been kept out.
He's just that. See,
Yeah.
sorry, quickly. That's a weird one. Like, this is where I also, sorry, I know, I don't mean to interrupt you, but this is one where I just go, why? Like, Vicario goes, oh, he's got a hernia, he's got this, he's been playing like with this pain for weeks, but it's like, stop making excuses. Yes, you probably do have a hernia, but if you're in that much pain, why are you putting yourself through it? You're not playing well, and you're saying it's the hernia that's affecting it. Just let I know Kingsley had that game, but still just let him play. Let Austin play, let these other goalies have a go. If you're in that much pain and you're saying it's affected your game and that's what's caused these like problems, then why are you playing? Why are you playing through it? Like,
Because it could put him in detriment.
Exactly, but he's made us so many mistakes. He has actually been a person that's cost us points this season, and then he was saying it's a hernia. I wish him luck with his surgery. He's still a professional at the end of the day. You don't want to see anyone, not be on the pitch again. Maybe not.
What is the backlash of that? Is how long is he out for, Tom? Officially?
I mean, he'll be out a few weeks, maybe to the end of the season. I don't know, but
wow, that could be massive.
Yeah, that could be huge.
No, but is it massive? Is it massive? Because once again,
yes, you've got Kingsley who's got no confidence, and you've got Austin who is not
actually. Austin
Premier
last time he played was actually damn good. I'm going to be honest though. Last time Austin played for us, he was actually pretty damn good, and for some reason we dropped him. Literally,
unfortunately, he's not Spurs proven yet.
No, Kingsley is a good goalie. You've got Kingsley plays.
He's probably the least confident he has ever felt in his footballing career.
Yeah, it's all massive.
Tom, I'd be concerned. I'd be really worried. I'd be really worried.
Max, I would be worried, but we've had about 14 senior injuries all season. We've got one of our best players from last season. Not even I've just found out one of our best players all last season might not even step a pitch to touch. Can't speak. Step on a football pitch ever again, because apparently Kulusevski has the same injury R9 had with his knee. Yeah. So I might not even see Kulusevski again. Maddison, I'm going to see him in April. Finally, I get to see one of my favourite players after a whole season.
Well, that will be all too
We
late.
signed Kudus. We haven't had him for months. We've missed I feel like all last year we missed our whole defence. We had no defence for ages, some of our midfield. And then this year, it's just complete opposite way around. We've been missing our attack most of the season. Yeah. The fact that at one point we had... I mean, I was paranoid on the weekend when I saw Tell go down and he had a bit of a knock, because if Tell got injured, it generally meant every single winger we had in the club was injured. Every single winger. And there's just the scariest bit is how long-term all our injuries are. That's the bit I don't understand. Most players get a knock, they're out for 3 to 4 weeks, unless it's a bad one. But every single one of our players, whether it's his hamstring, whether it's this, whether it's that, months, even a year, a lot of them. Solanke was out for months. You've got to remember, Solanke's extended back to last season. A lot of these injuries, I'm not saying injuries are, I'm not trying to make excuses, but when you've got 15 senior players out for an entire season, it's a joke, really. I mean, I saw a tally and it was like the average injured players for each team, right? And honestly, it went from 3 to 15, I think. That was their number ratio. Well, 0 to 15, but it started at 3 for the minimum.
Yeah.
But you had all of these, all the teams in there. And Man U's was quite high, to be fair. Man U had quite a high one. But Man U's, honestly, the average team was here in between, I think it was 0 to 5, the average team. And you had 7, and we had 12. 12 on average injured for for an over 2-year gap. That is what is going on? How can you be injured how can you have an average of 12 injured senior players? That's a weird thing to me. That is a weird, I think I've never seen this. I'm not trying to look, there's a lot more than that to make excuses for, but it is a big thing when you're missing a lot of your key players, It is a massive thing, and it hasn't helped us at all this season. I mean, the most annoying bit is players start getting in form and then they get injured. Kudus was doing really good, got injured. Odebert started finding form, got injured. Tell's looking really good, and it scares me that he might get injured. You know, he took that fall. Literally, you see a player take a fall, and you think, injury. You know, that is generally what you think at Spurs now. You think he's going to be out 6 months.
Yeah.
That is how you feel, how it feels. That is what I mean by the mentality of Spurs right now. Every single thing that you think, you just think the most negative of it. We can see the goal. We think we've already lost the game. There's no hope in our head that we can make this comeback. Where under Ange, there was always this feeling that we could. But every time a player goes down, there's another one out for 6 months. That's an ACL. Even when Odebert's happened, he walked off the pitch, and I went, he's going to be gone for a few months. ACL. You just had these negative thoughts currently as a Spurs fan. It don't help. Don't get me wrong. It doesn't help. But if that's what we think as fans, what do the players think on the pitch?
Yeah.
Half of them probably, are thinking about other clubs. I bet Romero probably go Atletico. Van der Ven go. I don't know if Liverpool want him. He might go Liverpool. There's a lot. The worst bit is a lot of our good players are on loan. God knows why we don't recall them. I know they're young, but we got that Voskovic. You got Voskovic, that centre-back who's unbelievable right now in Europe. It's starting our squad. Mikey Moore's a winger that we could really do.
Mikey Moore would
right
walk
now.
into that team right now.
He would walk into that team.
Into that team right now.
He's really, he needed that loan move, play starting football with men, and he's starting to really show that he's too good for Rangers.
And he's gonna keep developing next season.
I know, and it's just showing he should be in this. But why not recall him? I know you shouldn't, but we need him. He would slot in that team right now.
I think the problem was that this wasn't a concerning position in January.
You can recall at any point. You can recall at any point. You just have to play
but if you're going to do it, you'd do it in January, wouldn't you? Really, realistically.
Yeah, but
personally,
no one think even in January we weren't near the. I don't think
that's what I mean. You weren't near a struggling situation.
And also Kudus wasn't injured.
Yeah. Anyway, look, we can talk about Spurs for hours with Tom, I'm sure.
I'm going to just be saying the same things every week. Yeah,
seven games to go. Yeah. There's all the chance that Spurs stay up.
Will we see a win
I could ask the question again.
Will we see a win this year?
I could ask the question again, but I'm going to save it for further down. I think we're going to save it for further down the line, especially if they lose again to Sunderland and they finally drop into that.
Well, I generally look at our next fixtures and I don't see we get a win.
No.
It's scary. No. And that includes Leeds at home.
Damn. JP, I'm gonna talk, right? Watching that game, I think your biggest problem is the end product right now. Is this a problem under a senior? Do you see it getting fixed at all?
Well, it's been a problem the majority of the season, really. Everton, was a very good example on the weekend. We can create a chance for sure. We can create as many chances as we possibly could. I mean, even if you look back in the PSG game when we lost 3-0 at Stamford Bridge in midweek, I think we had a higher XG, but we just couldn't convert any of our chances, and that's an issue that we need to resolve. And I think Rosenior, I mean, he has his critics for sure. I mean, he was very underqualified before joining Chelsea anyway. But no, I think, especially against a team like Everton, we really should have won that match, really. But they just, nothing was really.
I would have said a team like Everton. I think you got to remember they are literally fighting for European football right now. They're a good team. Yeah. They've come back. David Moyes has brought them back.
Yeah, they're in good form, but I just think, if Chelsea did, capitalise on the chances that we did make, then we probably would have won. But no, it's an ongoing problem, and I don't know what it is really.
Inconsistent.
Because João Pedro's not really firing. Cole Palmer's not playing well as well. I'd hate to call him out, but it's true. Every time he's played since the past month, he hasn't really.
Since it's quite funny. Since the Man United kind of thing came up, he's kind of gone weird, hasn't he?
I don't know whether that's turned his head a little bit, because obviously, he supports Man United and everything. But no, I think even if that was the case, that's no excuse for him to downplay his role at Chelsea. And but and it's other players as well, like Pedro Neto on the wing, Garnacho,
Cucurella,
Cucurella
meant to
as
be this
well,
top left back in the league.
Yeah,
Really
and
not
then
showing it.
I mean, we've spoken about Robert Sanchez many times already this past season, and like that game in particular, like obviously, yeah, one of the goals was really his fault. It went completely under him. But even before that goal even happened, there was a case where very early on in the game he had the ball, kept
Yeah,
hold
for
of it for too
Beto.
long.
Yeah,
Yeah, Beto and dispossessed him, and like he thought, okay,
got
that could
away
have
with
been
it.
1-0. We got away with it massively then, and yeah, I just don't know how we're going to end the season because we're very inconsistent. One week, we're losing 3-0 to Everton and getting battered by PSG, but then it wasn't too long ago we went away to Aston Villa and won 4-1, and that was an example of Chelsea taking their chances that we created. So I don't know where we go from here. Because next, I mean, yes, international break has come at a good time to reflect and everything. But then we got Port Vale in the FA Cup. It goes straight into FA Cup weekend. And then, the Man City match, which, I don't know. I mean, we've
Just
been to the
lose it.
I mean, if it's a case of not wanting Arsenal to win the league, then losing could be a good option.
It's a win-win for you.
But knowing Chelsea, we still want to, try and qualify as best as we can for Champions League football. So we'll give it our all. I mean, we've already been to the Etihad and drew, and Enzo Fernandez scoring a late equaliser. I don't know, but Chelsea, yeah, we really need to sort our season out because it could either end really badly, like no European football at all, or even back in the Conference League, and we can't afford to do that really, because then, some of the star players will leave. If we qualify for Conference League again and we don't win the FA Cup, for example, then yeah, Palmer, I think it's sad to say, but he's probably going to leave in the summer. Enzo Fernandez, another player who's like already talking up a move away from the club as well. Apparently Real Madrid are looking
Yeah, I don't know how
at
true
his
that is.
services. But no, it's something, it's an ongoing issue, not capitalizing on our chances. I'm struggling to see where it's going to be fixed, really.
It's cool.
Because we saw the scenes at the end of the game as well with Liam Rosenior clapping towards the away fans, and let's just say it wasn't a raucous clapping from the fans. It was a bit of distaste, I feel, from the Chelsea fans towards their manager. Do you realistically, considering who the person Todd Bowley is and who the board are at Chelsea Football Club, is there a world where Liam Rosenior keeps his job next season?
I mean, like I said, it's how we end the season. If we say best case scenario for Chelsea is we get top 4 or top 5 now. I think 5th guarantees you Champions League football. If we get top 5 and win the FA Cup, then yeah, there's a very strong case for him staying. But if we lose, if we get knocked out the FA Cup or lose the final or something, and we drop back into the Conference League, then yeah, I think he goes. And to be honest, like I've said this to my other Chelsea fan friends, I mean, Rosenior never really should have been at Chelsea in the first place because he was actually doing a very good job at Strasbourg. He was building something there. The French club loved him. Their fans loved him. He was actually beating PSG when he was at when he was with Strasbourg. But then no, yeah, Maresca left at the start of the year, and we just essentially took him away from them. And now he's, I mean, similar to like, for example, when we hired Frank Lampard, Frank Lampard came in very underexperienced. Obviously, he had his run with Derby, reaching the playoff final, nearly got promoted. But then he joined Chelsea, had a very good first season, but then it just kind of went downhill from there. And he eventually lost his job. Obviously, Lampard now, he's doing very well. Looks like he's going to be back in the Premier League soon with Coventry. But no, Rosenior... Yeah, it could go one or two ways. I think if we win FA Cup, get Champions League, then there's a strong case for him staying. But if not, then the owners are just going to have to bite another bullet because this has all stemmed down from obviously Thomas Tuchel leaving many years ago now. I think because Tuchel, he didn't get on with the owners as soon as they joined. He was disagreeing with their transfer strategy, and then he got sacked. And now we're been trying to try and get back to that place where we were ever since.